Good morning, everybody. It's Cowboy. Let me know that you can hear me. Give a shout out in the comments. That would be awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. It is what is it? 8:30 a.m. EST, and it's Friday. Isn't it Friday? Yep. It's Friday. Short week, of course. We had Christmas this week, so not a lot going on in the chart's been very quiet, and that is that. I mean, the real question is going to be which way is Bitcoin going to break out? We're going to start with Bitcoin because we are in the Bitcoin bull cycle, and that's what people want to see. Now, as the bull cycle ends in the next year or so, the next several months, we'll go ahead and move back over to Forex and the indices and things like that. But in the meantime, that's what's going on. Everybody wants to see Bitcoin. What's it going to do? Well, right now it's in a range. It's pretty simple. And this yellow line is what I had predicted earlier this week, right? So I had predicted it would just kind of rock and roll at the bottom of the range, and it did the same thing, but it did it a little bit higher. So I'm going to undo this, but I could have just done this and it would have been more correct. But, given the price action being is relatively correct, I'm happy with what I said it would do. It's just ranging back and forth. And this is to be expected during a holiday time when nobody's really trading, people are traveling. Now, once in a while with Bitcoin, actually, it's pretty often with Bitcoin, you will see strong moves when nobody is looking. And I was thinking that on Christmas Eve or something like that, we might see Bitcoin make a strong move up or a strong move down. On the lower time frame, it did, but for the most part, this is not what happened. For the most part, Bitcoin just continued to range more or less between about 92,000 and 99,900, or you could just say 100,000, right? Bumped up to 100, got pushed back down. Now let's take a quick look at what's going on in the algos. I can tell you right now, not a lot of excitement in the algos. Everything is kind of it's just being pushed in both directions, pushed up, pushed down, and that's why we see this ranging price action as I head down to the 3 hour here to a little bit lower time frame. So you can see that my predictions are more or less coming true. It's just they're coming true at different levels. So I figured it would kind of range, and it ranged a little bit lower, and that was from 3 weeks ago. And then this week I figured it would range, but it's ranging a hair higher. So you can tell that I know what I'm talking about. It just kind of takes a little bit different of a look than I expected. But that's what is going on with Bitcoin. And that's what I expect to continue to go on with Bitcoin, right? I do expect right now to see it just kind of maybe hang out in this area as I'm about to draw right now. Let's see here. Like this. Maybe stay in this range for now. We'll see about it. But that's what I expect. Not a whole lot. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Now, what usually happens when Bitcoin starts to range and it starts to create what may be a stable price over a longer period of time is you'll start to see more money go to the altcoins. As it stands right now, they're all slightly in the green. So we're kind of seeing that, but not in a big way. Some coins are doing better than others. We will take a look at Solana. And Solana, again, not too different to what I said in both cases. I thought it would range and it dropped a little bit lower. I thought it would range lower and it stayed in this area. Same pretty much kind of concept that happened with Bitcoin. So more or less, not totally incorrect, actually pretty correct, just not at the levels that I thought I would see them. So this is what we're looking at when it comes to Solana. And before we move on to the private live lab, I will take a brief look at Ethereum. I know that there are a lot of people who still look at Ethereum. It's been what I would call a disappointment this particular cycle, and if you compare Ethereum to Bitcoin, you'll see that it continues to be so. And that's just because Ethereum, I don't know, it might be that the fees are too high, it's not being used. There are other chains that seem to be used instead of it. It might just be that I don't know, it could be as simple as there's not a real big use case for the coin itself. Ever since it went to proof of stake rather than proof of work, it might be that people lost a little faith, or it might just be none of those things and some other reason. But compared to Bitcoin, Ethereum's not been doing that great. It is currently ranging. It did dip a little bit lower than I thought it would going back halfway through the month. So, I kind of held on to the prediction I made a couple of weeks ago. I didn't really change that, but it did dip a little bit lower. So I guess the next thing I'll take a look at, since there is time yet left in this part of the stream, is I'm going to head over to the E-mini. Now, going back a week or two, I thought price would range between 6,050 and 6,100 more or less. Now, Jerome Powell went ahead and did some hawk talk, and what that means is that he talked about the dollar being strong, so price went ahead and moved down, and that was with a 25 basis point rate cut priced in. So the move down was a bit unexpected, and that's why we see a pretty strong, crazy move. Well, guess what? It's right back to where it was. Plunge protection team on the job. Price is stabilized once again and back where I thought it would be. So the prediction that I made was more or less correct. It just took a big deviation due to Jerome Powell and the things that he said last week. And we could say the same more or less for the Dow. The Dow did not quite pull back up to where I thought it's in the range of where I thought it would be, but I thought the Dow would be a little bit higher. For the moment, it does appear that it's going to range. And I'm not really going to make a ton of predictions. It's Friday. It's the end of the year. We have, I think, Monday, maybe Tuesday left in the year for trading. So I think that's about all I'd have to say about these. NASDAQ. Again, now that NASDAQ is probably where I've been a bit more accurate this year. I've been actually really accurate with these indices overall, but the NASDAQ has just been pretty powerful, just heading back up. Again, plunge protection team back on the job, back in the range that I talked about if I just extend it out a bit. So, acting pretty predictably. Well, I want to thank you all for coming and watching. I know it's kind of a slow day, slow week. That's just how it is at the end of the year. So, sure, there might be some opportunities, but usually during this week and next week, very often, the last week of the year and the first week of the next year, it's just a really good time to kind of do some studying or even take some time off, spend it with family. Obviously, Christmas and the day after, aka Boxing Day, if you're over in a Commonwealth country, those are just days to spend with family. Sitting in front of a screen all the time and trading, that sounds good to new traders, but in reality, it's actually not the way you want to do things. Ideally, you do this kind of work so that eventually you can step away and you can, you can just have some life. So that's going to be my message. Learn how to trade if you want to. If you already trade, come on over to Algo Factory. Let us help you clean up your trading. Right? A lot of people have been trading for a long time, but they're not doing it right. They're not profitable. They're running into problems. We do rehabilitate a lot of traders at Algo Factory. So come to algofactory.tech, learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro. And above all, never forget,
join us or die.